So we're looking at week number 6 for writing today, and it's going to be persuasive writing. Now, the point of today is to look at using different language and register, and then we're going to look at how we can adapt it to suit the audience and the purpose. So it's just how you tweak your words, how you might physically talk different to someone, or how you might change the wording or the formality depending on who you're actually talking to or who your audience is. So the aims and outcomes of today's session is to understand what persuasive writing is, and then you should be able to use emotive language. You should be able to use direct address, rhetorical questions where you ask a question but you don't actually expect an answer, like, oh, there's no point, is there? That type of question. Use the rule of 3.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm fine. This is Clifford. Yeah.
Hi, Clifford. Fantastic.
Okay.
I was just waiting for you to come on audio. That's brilliant.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So we're just going to be looking at hopefully being able to use hyperbole. Now, hyperbole is when you use an exaggerated statement or a claim that you shouldn't really take literally. So an example of this is like if you say, oh, that boy was running faster than the wind. Obviously, he's not running faster than the wind, but you can understand that he was running really fast. Or you might say to your child when they go to Trafford Centre or Tesco or something and they want a toy, you're like, you've got 1 million toys at home. And you know that they don't have 1 million toys, but it feels like it. So you're just trying to say you've got loads. That's what hyperbole means, is where you're exaggerating something. And then using repetition you already know about. And then you should hopefully be able to use all of these ideas on a regular basis when you're doing your writing. So let's make a start on this. So persuasive techniques. So there's quite a lot of persuasive techniques and we've just gone over most of them now. There's emotive language, direct address, emotive language when they're trying to make you feel something, direct address when they're saying you, or welcome, here, I, me, when they're actually addressing you. Rhetorical questions where they ask a question that they don't want an answer to. Hyperbole, we just talked about, and repetition where you might say a particular word over and over again. So for level 2 assessments, you might be asked to write an article, a letter or an email, and it might be to ask you to argue a point or to persuade your reader to your viewpoint, to your opinion. And then knowing these different techniques will actually help you to write that letter or that article or that email when you get into it. So we've got emotive language. So emotive language is when they use particular words to make you feel a certain emotion. Now, there's these sentences here, and I'm going to ask you these questions. Now, these sentences about horse racing. So I'm going to ask you these 2 questions first, and then I want you to think about it. So what do you think the writer's viewpoint is, and how do you know this? So this writer has written these 2 sentences. The Cheltenham Festival, which is held every March, is an event at which the racing industry parades in all its finery and receives uncritical, flattering coverage from a section of the media. In reality, it is a graveyard for horses. The high death toll and overuse of the whip make Cheltenham an event that, for many, embodies all that is unsavoury about commercial racing. So what do you think is the viewer's viewpoint, the writer's viewpoint on this?
I can't comprehend.
So if this person is talking about horse racing, you know when we have yearly horse racing, where they wear those fancy hats and they're doing like lots of horse racing and so on.
Yeah.
If this person is talking about that, now this person is saying that in the beginning, they're saying that this festival happens every March and they do racing and it shows that it's all fancy and it shows flattering coverage, that there's nothing critical about it. They just show the nice things in the media. But in reality, this person is saying that this festival is really bad for horses because it kills the horses. There's too many horses dying. There's a lot of horses that are being hit with the whip so that they can make them run. and that there's a lot of people that actually think that this is a bad festival and that this shouldn't happen. So what these questions are asking you is, what do you think the writer's viewpoint is? What does the writer think about this? And then they're asking you to provide some evidence of it. So from what I just explained to you, what do you think the writer thinks about this? Do they like it or don't they like it?
Like it.
So I'd say that they don't like it because they're saying that every year this festival happens and it's always shown in a good way. It's shown like, oh, this is brilliant, it's fantastic. Look at all these fancy horses doing races. They look so nice. But in reality, what this person is saying that I don't like this race because lots of horses are dying, they're getting beaten up with whips, and it's not a nice festival. So she or he thinks that they don't like this, that it's a bad idea. And then, is there anything in these sentences that can show evidence to show that that the writer thinks that this is not a good idea, it's not a good festival?
It says it's a graveyard for horses.
Exactly, yeah. So you could just put that sentence out and saying it is a graveyard for horses. Then you can make it a little bit longer. You could go, the writer goes on to say that the high death toll and overuse of the whip shows that they don't agree with this festival and that they think that it shouldn't be happening. So you could use these two sentences, and then you can words like unsavory and so on also give you evidence for that.
Okay.
So sometimes you will come across things that you might not be aware of, like you might not have heard of the Cheltenham Festival before, but you've got to look at keywords here to try and figure out what they're talking about. So keywords for this would be racing. So you know that it's a racing festival, but what is it racing for? Cars? Is it people having fun runs? What are they doing? But then you can see horses on the next sentence, so you can deduct, you can actually, from here, you can figure out that this is a horse racing festival where they're racing horses to win a competition. So if you ever get stuck, just look for keywords about what it's about.
Okay.
So we've got another paragraph here, but the answers have been highlighted here for you. So we're going to look at this paragraph and we're going to look at what the emotive words are, what words actually make you feel something. So if you really care about animals, the best way you can help is to stop eating them. See, and it's got an exclamation mark there. Only by rejecting animal exploitation in all its forms, so rejecting animal exploitation, so that makes you feel like, oh, maybe I shouldn't be eating chicken or lamb or any of those things. Maybe they're right. Then it goes on farming, slaughter, vivisection, entertainment, etc. So we can hope to end it. It is demand for these things that fuels the cruel industries. So they've decided that it's a cruel industry and they're trying to make you feel like it's a cruel industry as well. So by ceasing to pay, so ceasing is stopping. So by stopping to pay for the products of animal suffering, see, you've got animal suffering there, another one, we can move closer to ending cruelty to animals. So all of these words are there to make you feel an emotion. So what emotion is this that this paragraph is making you feel?
Pardon?
What emotion does this paragraph, does this little section make you feel? How does it make you feel about this? So it makes me feel a little bit guilty and like, oh, I eat meat, so maybe I shouldn't be doing that. But then I like eating meat, so I want to do that. So it makes you a bit guilty and it makes you a bit aware. For you, what does it make you feel?
I don't know.
It could make you feel angry, couldn't it? You're like, oh, those people that are all, if you're vegetarian or vegan, be like, oh, I do my bit, why can't they do their bit and stop eating animals? So it can make you feel angry or sad or guilty. So that's why they're putting emotions up.
We eat animal in reality.
There you go. So, emotive language number 3. So we're going to create your own sentences here. So you've been asked to write a leaflet for a charity that provides clean water in the developing world. So I want you to think of 3 sentences. So this is about a charity that wants to give clean water in places that don't have clean water. So can you think of a sentence that will make somebody feel guilty so that they will give money to charity so that they can create water wells?
No parent should be forced to give their child unsafe water.
Are we doing a bit of cheating now? Yes, that's true. It's over here. I was hoping you wouldn't notice that. But yes, it says that no parent should be forced to give their child unsafe water. So yeah, you're like, I don't want my children to have unsafe water. Why do they have to do it? And then you say, next one, to make yourself feel concerned, to make the reader concerned, you could go, innocent babies have already died because of water-related illnesses. And you're like, oh, it says innocent there. And, you know, babies are so sweet and cute as well. And we don't want bad things to happen. Then you've got the word died, so it makes you feel concerned. And then another sentence that makes you, persuades you to give money, donate some money every month, is every drop saves lives, and we can't do this without your help. So this will be a persuasion sentence saying, come on, give us money because we can't do this without you, and every single drop of water will help someone. And then we've got direct address in text. So when we use you or we, especially in persuasive text, it helps you to do 3 things. It builds a relationship with your reader. It makes you feel involved and also important because, like, oh yeah, they're talking to me directly here. They're actually, you know, saying these things to me. And then it also makes it difficult for you to say, oh yeah, I'm not bothered. So you're not dismissing the text. You're actually paying attention because it's focusing on you. So we're going to look at 3 different sentences. We're going to look at these pairs of sentences, not 3. So we've got an impersonal sentence where it says everybody is concerned about pollution. Our direct address is we are all concerned about pollution. So we're encompassing you. The reader is put into that circle saying, oh, you're part of the people that are concerned. We are concerned. Then impersonal is sun exposure can cause skin damage. And then direct address is sun exposure can damage your skin. So then you would say, put on your sunscreen, you know, make sure you wear a hat, make sure you cover up. So these things make you feel involved. And then there's some impersonal sentences where we've got examples of direct address. So the first one is everyone needs to listen. So if I was in a classroom and I wasn't getting listened to, I'd be like, come on everyone, listen now. And then they might not pay attention because they're like, oh, you're not talking to me, I'm listening, or, you know, talk to someone else. Or I could point to someone and say, you need to listen. And then there's another one, a visit to the castle will be interesting. But to make it more personal, you'll find a visit to the castle interesting, so the you makes it a bit more personal there. Every visitor is welcome, and then you are welcome. It makes you want to go. And it is encouraged to give blood. If I see that sentence, I don't want to go and give blood. But if I see we encourage you to give blood, I might think, oh yeah, okay, go on. I might as well. I'm here now, aren't I? So that's the difference of having direct address to make it personal compared to impersonal sentences where it's just generic, it's a general sentence where it could apply to everyone. Then we have rhetorical questions. Now remember, a rhetorical question doesn't need an answer. They're just there to get your attention, or they're there to make you think about something. Or sometimes when you're at home and you can see the mess created by all the kids and you're like, who's going to clean this up? And they'll all ignore you because you know they're not going to answer it to you. They're not going to answer you. They're not going to see, or you say, oh, what's the point of this? So these are questions that you're really asking, just saying, just to convey your feelings. and to let them know that you're annoyed, but you know that they're really not going to answer you. So we've got a couple of questions here. So we've got a sentence here, saying, how would you feel if you had no choice but to make your child drink unsafe water? 2 points, so that's a rhetorical question. They're not actually asking you to answer it. Then it goes on to say some facts. 2.1 billion people worldwide lack safe drinking water at home. So we've got examples of rhetoric and not rhetoric. So how long will the meeting last? So if I ask one of my colleagues that, I expect an answer, they'll probably say 10 minutes or an hour. Or if you ask me, how long is this lesson going to last? I'm like, oh, I hope it'll finish by 12 o'clock. You know, that type of thing. But if I was asked, how would you feel if your street was full of rubbish? I know that I wouldn't really answer that. It's just to make me feel, you know, think about, what if my street was full of rubbish? Well, how would I feel? And then how should I know? That's a rhetorical question where you don't expect an answer. And is it a bank holiday tomorrow? So that's a real question where you do expect an answer and you will go, yes, it is, or no, it isn't. That's next week. And then the most question that I probably end up asking my kids when they're making a mess is that there's no point, is there? You know, so you don't expect an answer from them, but you're trying to get them to feel like, you know, stop making a mess over here. So we've got some normal sentences, and then we've got some rhetorical questions that we've changed them into. So residents aren't using the recycling options available. And then you could change that into, do you want our planet to survive? You know, to make, you'd probably making them feel something and make them feel a bit guilty as well. Pedestrians aren't crossing the road safely. Then a rhetorical question would be like, are you trying to hurt yourself? A child's bedroom is always untidy. And then I'll probably go to my eldest, mostly, more than anyone, and say, do you like living in a pigsty? And then someone at work has made a mistake, and then you think, did you think about what you were doing? And then you're not really expecting answers on these, but you're saying them so you're making someone think. So is that section okay on rhetorical questions?
Yeah.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Brilliant. And then we've got the rule of three. So remember, all of these things will actually help you to write an article or a letter, whatever task they give you, especially if you're trying to persuade someone or trying to argue your own point. These techniques will help you in your tests. So the rule of three is a technique where you just use 3 different words or 3 points right after each other. So a miles a day helps you work, rest, and play. So you've got 3 words there, work, rest, and play. Those are your rules of 3. 1, 2, 3. You wouldn't go a miles a day helps you work, a miles a day helps you rest, a miles a day helps you play, because that'd be boring. Then you go stop, look, and listen. And that's what, when you're crossing roads, that's what we teach little ones, to teach them how to look left and right when they're crossing a road. Then blood, sweat, and tears. So I worked my blood, sweat, and tears to get this project finished. Then you got friends, Romans, countrymen, and so on with that. And then you might have seen T-shirts that got quite popular a while ago, where there were things like eat, sleep, repeat, that type of thing, you know, to make a point and just really make you focus on certain things. Then you've got some sentences here. So we've got a normal sentence, and we've got the rule. These we've changed into the rule of 3. So residents aren't using the recycling options available. So we change it to reduce, reuse, and recycle. It's more punchier, isn't it? So I wouldn't want to look at this, because it's just, if that was in a leaflet, the top section, I'd be like, I'm not bothered. But this is more punchy, and it makes me want to pay attention to it. Then pedestrians aren't crossing the road safely. We change that to stop, look, listen. Then a child's bedroom is always untidy. Then we got clean it, bin it, put it away. And someone at work has made a mistake. Ask, check, and check again. So this is how you're changing simple sentences by using a rule of 3 instead. And it makes it more punchy, doesn't it? It makes you want to focus on it a bit more because it's a bit more fun. Then we've got hyperbole. So remember, hyperbole is where you just make an exaggeration. So we've got a couple of things on here. So if I hear that one more time, I'm going to move to Mars. So obviously they can't move to Mars. It's not as simple as what they think is. It's just that the person who's writing this is quite fed up and they don't want to hear the same thing again. So I'd rather kiss a toad than miss my dance class. So it's showing that the writer actually really enjoys class, dancing, and they don't want to miss their dance class. So they'd be like, I'd kiss a toad if I had to miss my dance class. So she has 1 million pairs of shoes, so she's got lots of shoes, and I'm dying of shame. So maybe something really bad has happened, they're feeling really shameful. So they're using these exaggerations to make their points. Now, a couple of sentences where he goes, everyone knows that, but how do you know everybody knows a particular thing that you're saying? So you could change it into a normal sentence would be, it's common knowledge. So a lot of people know this, but not necessarily everyone. So I have been to that restaurant 1 million times. And I think it'd be quite difficult for you to go to a restaurant 1 million times unless you own it or work there and you've been working there for a couple of years. So it's just showing that the person who's written the sentence has been there quite a lot. Tim was dying to start his new job. So this section here, he's not physically dying. He's just showing that he's excited and he's looking forward to starting his new job. So he's got that dying over there to show his excitement towards going to a new adventure. And the day dragged on like an eternity. So, it just felt like a really long day. And that's it. Sometimes you'll be at the end of the day, you'll be sitting in your office at work, or you'll be on a shift, and you'll be like, you look at your watch and you're like, what? It feels like hours went by, but in reality only 5 minutes have gone by. So that's you exaggerating and using a hyperbole there. Are we okay with hyperboles?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fantastic. The way I remember is hyperbole. I always think hyper equals exaggeration. So that's the easiest way that I remember it when I think, someone's getting hyper, they're getting a bit exaggerated, so then we stick them together. So if you ever get stuck onto what hyperbole means, just do it that way. And then you've got repetitions. It's when you repeat something multiple times. Now, a lot of words that are repeated in written topics, in articles, newspapers, speeches, all of those, they do it to make an effect. So it's there to pinpoint something, make you feel something, and actually realize, hey, this is what we're talking about. This is the whole point of this. So we got Winston Churchill, a speech that he did. He did, we shall fight on the beaches. So he repeats, we shall fight multiple times. So we shall fight on the beaches. We shall fight on the landing. We shall fight on the fields. And we shall fight in the hills. And we shall never surrender. So you got we shall, we shall, we shall. Last one, we've changed it slightly. But it gets you into the mood. Then you got Martin Luther King, and he repeated in his very famous speech, I have a dream. And he says, I have a dream 8 times in those sentences. And it really is an iconic speech because I had my daughter say to me the other day, she said, oh, Martin Luther King, he's the guy that said, I have a dream. I'm like, do you know anything else? She said, no, I only know that he said, I have a dream. And it's quite iconic, isn't it? So if you don't remember anything else, you know that he was the person to have a speech with these words in there. And then he also had other phrases that were repeated in his speech. It was like, let freedom ring, and now is the time. And this repetition actually helped really put that information into his audience and help them feel an emotion and help them realize, yeah, this is what we're meant to be doing. This is what we should be doing. So it got them really involved through the use of repetition. So here's a couple of sentences, and then we've got a couple of ideas of how to make them into repetition. So an article supporting the development of a new leisure centre might say healthy people make healthy choices. So you got healthy twice. So you might have a letter arguing against the closure of a library. So we need books for leisure, books for learning, and books for reference. So books, books, books. You got that 3 times. And then you got an email where you're trying to get a friend to come join you on a charity challenge activity. So you go, I promise you it will be fun, fun, fun. So, on to our quiz on here. So number 1, what is the rule of 3? Is it excessive exaggeration? A question that doesn't need an answer? Language to elicit an emotional response, or putting words or phrases together to make them stand out? Which one do you think it is? A, B, C, or D?
B.
Remember, we're talking about rule. Do you say B or D?
I said B, but not sure, but I said B.
No, it's not B. Remember,
Okay.
it's a rule of 3 when you use 3 words or 3 phrases.
Putting words
Okay.
or phrases
Okay.
together to
Yeah.
make
So like things like eat, sleep, repeat, or stop, look, listen. So putting words or phrases together to make them stand out. So yeah, D. Got 5 questions in total for you today. So why are rhetorical questions used? Is it A, to grab attention or to make the reader think? B, to make the reader feel a particular emotion? C, to make the reader feel they're involved? Or D, to find out what the reader already knows? A rhetorical question is one that doesn't need an answer, but it makes you feel something when you read it.
B. B.
It's not B, you're close. It does make you feel something, but it's not B.
It's A.
Yes, it grabs your attention. It does make you think, and it does make you feel like, oh, do I really want? They're asking you, do you want your street to be as dirty as mine? You're like, oh, so it does make you have an emotion, but it's more to grab your attention or to make you think.
Yeah.
Then number 3, the topic sentence in a paragraph. So the topic sentence in a paragraph, is it always first? Does it give details and evidence? Does it close the paragraph, or does it give the main idea of the paragraph? So what does the topic sentence do?
It gives the main idea.
It does, yes. Now, if you had said A as well, that is partially correct. D is 100% correct. A, sometimes,
It's always the first. Yeah.
Yeah, not
Because
necessarily.
that's what you look on to first. Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes the topic sentence will be the first sentence, but mostly it's the first sentence, but not always. The topic sentence does give you the main idea of the paragraph, but 99% of the time it can be the first sentence that you read. But the whole point of that sentence is to give you the idea of what the paragraph is about. So number 4, which is an example of a hyperbole. So we do, don't you agree? Or it's all about cuts, cuts, cuts. Or my feet are killing me. Or the unruly mob terrified the onlookers.
My feet are killing me.
Yeah, C. Now sometimes if you get confused between C and D, because they're both exaggerating a little bit, but this is more emotion on here. Where they're trying to make you feel sad for someone. So yeah, you're right, my feet are killing me is the correct one. And the last one on here, where is it? There you go. So emotive language deliberately tries to make the reader, does it try to make them question themselves, feel directly involved, realize why something is important, or feel a certain way?
Feel a certain way.
Yes, D. Emotive, filled language makes you feel a certain way. Angry, sad, upset, guilty, any of those things. So well done. So today you've looked at emotive language, direct address, rhetorical questions, rule of three, hyperbole and repetition, and hopefully you'll be able to use some of these skills when you're actually writing, if you're asked to write down an article or a letter or some sort of document where you need to persuade someone about your own opinion or get them to do something. So to practice this, I've got a, where is it? I've got your homework here. Now, we just go on in the beginning of the homework. I've already emailed this to everybody. It just lets you know about all the what emotive, direct address, and so on. Just to have a recap. Then we go down, and we're going to do activity 1A, where you're going to match the sentence to the language or the points over here. So let's do a couple together. Is the sky blue? What do you think that would be? Emotive, direct, rhetorical, hyperbole, rule of three, or repetition? But they're not really expecting an answer to that. It's the sky blue.
It's a rhetorical question.
Yeah, exactly. So it's rhetorical. And then I don't sing because I am happy. I am happy because I sing. So if you look, they used happy.
Repetition.
Twice. Yeah, and they used sing twice as well. So yeah, repetition, well done. Boarded up shops, charity shops, and empty streets are the sign of a high street in decline. What would this be? It's making you feel something, isn't it? Emotive.
Emotive language.
Yes, emotive language. So it's making you feel something, isn't it? So you've got to think up, they're in decline at the moment. And then you've got like his smile was a mile wide. And obviously you know that's going to be hyperbole because your smile cannot be a mile wide. If you ever get stuck, do the ones you know first. So then you don't, get stuck on that. So just go and cross them, highlight them. If you're on the laptop, just if you don't want to have, it's not easy to do the arrows, you can do them the same color, do that yellow, do that yellow, do that pink like that. Or if you're sending me pictures, just do light and print it and write it out like that. So let me go further down. On here, you've got a couple of sentences and you've got some activities where you're asked to change it into a hyperbole, an exaggeration, and a repetition. So you want to do, the music is too loud. I would change this into a hyperbole and say, the music was so loud, my ears were popping. And then it is another sentence here, there are too many orders to send. And I might change it for exaggeration. I might change it to, there was a mountain of orders. Obviously you don't have a mountain of orders, but it just means you've got so many of them. Then you've got the same sentences again, and then this time they're asking you to change it into a rhetorical question. Then they're asking you to change it into emotive language. And then they're asking you to change it into the rule of three. So I've got the music is loud, loud, loud. Oh, that will be repetition. See, even I make mistakes sometimes. So you would go, the music is loud, proud, and stout or something. So you just go 3 different words to repeat it. And then you've got a repetition. But now you would go, the music is loud, loud, loud. So you can use the same word 3 times. So yeah, same sentences, but you just have to change the sentences in a different way. So repetition, hyperbole, rule of three, and so on with these.